Hi everyone, this is Marianne and welcome to my channel. I had a lot of fun in my previous video where I made and built my own ink swatch book out of scratch and made swatches out of all of the inks that I have currently loaded inside fountain pens. But some of my new ink sample vial orders and pen orders have started to come in, and I am having even more fun swatching the new inks because I felt I had to swatch them first before deciding which ones I actually want to load into the new pens. And then as I swatch the new inks, they sometimes remind me of similar colors that I already have, and so I swatch those just to actually see how they compare. I have no idea why I have never really done ink swatches before. I should have started doing this many years ago. This is so much fun. Anyway, I order my ink sample vials mostly from the ink shop, and I will link them down below in the description box. There is no method to what inks I order. I just order the colors that call out to me from different brands. And I also reordered one more vial of the Diamine Salamander because it's starting to become one of my favorite inks. I swatched my Salamander vial already in the previous video. Now I already have the swatch pages for these inks prepared because when I made this swatch book, the inks were already ordered. I'm just going to take out the specific pages and then we can move to swatching. And just like in the previous video, I will not speed up the parts for the ink swatching because I want you all to see how the ink reveals itself on the paper. And I will be putting aside each swatch page as I finish swatching them and wait for them to be completely dry. And then of course I will show you everything when they're already dry. The paper that I am using is the Bavania Splendor Gel White 270 GSM, and like I said, I showed how I made this swatch book in my previous video, which is linked down below. This is Robert Oster Rose Gilt Tint from the Shake and Shimmy collection. It's a very nice color. It's a bit light, but the gilt on the ink is very visible on the swatch. And later on, when all of the swatches are completely dry, you will see the full effect of the shimmer and the sheen on all of the inks. Next is the Colorverse Pillars of Creation. This is quite the dramatic ink. There is no shimmer here, but there is a sheen of a different color. This is Ferris Wheel Press Glimmering Greige. It is a medium to light warm gray with gold flecks. It is so lovely. Next is the Polar Lights from Troublemaker. It is also a rather dramatic ink. Next is Wonderland in Coral from Ferris Wheel Press. It is a mild orange color with subtle gold flecks. This is not super shimmery though, but the shimmer is there. It's just not standing out so much. And these are the 5 new inks that I ordered. The 6th vial is the Salamander, which I have already swatched in the previous video. Now let us have a closer look at each. The Pillars of Creation is very, very dark, and this is a sheening ink, and the sheen is designed to be a different color, meaning if you lay down a light line on the paper, it will be one color, but if you lay down a much wetter line, it will be a different color, literally. I laid down a wetter swatch near the top, so that's the sheening color on that area. The base color is the one near the bottom of the swatch. Polar Lights is so pretty. It's a dark greenish gray with green shimmer. This is the first time that I am seeing green shimmer on a fountain pen ink. Of course, I'm sure that's because I'm only getting into shimmer inks now. I am late to the party. But seeing it now, I can say that this is so pretty. This Polar Lights makes the shimmer on the Wonderland in Coral pale even so much more in comparison. Now the Rose Gilt Tint is a very similar ink color with a Queen Allium from Ferris Wheel Press. But as you can see, Queen Allium has gold shimmer, but the Rose Gilt has a silver shine that is closer to a pearl finish rather than a shimmer. But it's still very much pronounced. Now I really like the Glimmering Greige. I like the gray. And I like that it has gold flecks. Gray and gold don't usually go together, but in this combination, they look so pretty. So I decided to load it into this Jinhao 82 with a fine nib. This is a new pen, by the way. This arrived about a week ago, but I have never inked it yet. And when filling your pen with a shimmer ink, it is always good practice to shake the vial or the bottle very well so that your pen can take in the proper amount of shimmer inside the reservoir or the converter. And now that the pen is loaded, we can doodle right here on the swatch page itself. Now I have noticed that the shimmer is not so visible on the handwriting sample that I just made. That's because the ink is not flooding the paper, which is what you need to happen if you want the shimmer to be more pronounced. And one trick that I use to resolve that is to manually push the ink up closer towards the nib to expel some of the air that got trapped inside the converter when I was filling the pen. But I don't think doing that resolved the matter for this particular pen and ink combination. Maybe the flecks are literally much smaller, or maybe this pen just writes dry. You need a wet pen for shimmer inks and shading inks. Anyway, I will still be using this. I think the gray is pretty. It is light, but still very readable. Now, of course, I want to use Polar Lights, and I will load it into this Jinhao 992. That's a dark green color. This pen is I bought this pen a couple of years ago but never inked it. It came in a set of different colored Jinhaos. Some of the pens in the set I have already inked up and I showed them in the previous video, but this green one now finally has an ink that matches. This is so beautiful. The pen and ink combination is reasonably wet, so I don't even have to manually push the ink up closer to the nib to see the very prominent green shimmer. So pretty, so pretty. On the next day, I received some pens that I ordered from Jump Bid. I will link the store in the description box. These are, once more, just the super cheap pens because I explained in my video about my return to journaling that I now just want the sample vials and the cheap pens because they give me no stress and no pressure, but all of the fun. This is the Lanbitou pen with a transparent body and a white cap and a matching white color on the knob. That is the part where we twist to fill the pen, and later on I'll show you how to do it. My other super cheap piston filler pen is the Wingsung 698, which is completely transparent and which is currently filled with Diamine Kelly Green. I really like the Wingsung, but I could not find the other colors, so I decided to try out the Lanbitou for now. The second and the third pens that I ordered are just two more colors of the Jinhao 82. These are the olive and the black. And I wanted to order the other colors I didn't have yet, but the seller was out of them. These already come with the converters inside. Now I want to fill the Lanbitou, so I'm going to figure out what ink to use in it. I decided to swatch more inks to help me decide. This is J. Herbin Poussiere de Lune. I'm trying my best to pronounce it as properly as I can. J. Herbin is a very well-behaved ink and I like this color. I had a bottle before, but I was not able to use it so much, so I sold it. This ink is a little close to the Diamine Damson, but the J. Herbin is more pink than the Damson. Because they already looked very similar and I already have the Damson in a current pen, I decided to look for a different ink to use in the Lanbitou. I also considered using the Noodler's Walnut, which is a deep warm brown. Another ink that I considered is the Diamine Earl Grey. The Diamine Cool Green looks so lovely. And I also swatched the Vinta Armada because I also considered that. Out of all of these inks, it was the cool green that was calling out to me, so I tried it out. One way that you can try out an ink in a pen is to simply dip the tip of the nib into the ink to draw a small amount of ink into the tines of the nib, and you can already write with that. As you can see, it already writes quite some amount of handwriting, even if I haven't even filled the pen yet. The ink is really beautiful, so I loaded up the pen with it. To load a piston filler, just twist the knob in order to depress the plunger of the piston, and then dip the nib of the pen into the ink and then twist the knob the other way to draw the ink. It's that easy. And then I realized that I also had another Vinta ink vial, and so I swatched that as well. This is the Vinta Perya. It is very, very light. I actually used this once before, but it was too light. It was so difficult to read, but it's very pretty. And then after yet another day, the rest of my ink order arrived, also from the ink shop, which is linked down below. These are just 7 random inks that called out to me. This is the Sunlit Jade from Ferris Press. And this is the Moonlit Jade from Ferris Press. When both inks are still wet, they look exactly alike to my eyes, and it is only when they are dry when we get to see that the Sunlit Jade has a gold shimmer and the Moonlit Jade has a silver shimmer. But their base ink colors are exactly the same, exactly the same. It is the color of the shimmer that distinguishes one from the other. And I thought the seller gave me the wrong order, but turns out it was correct. Next is the Wearingeul Path, and it is gorgeous. It is a green gold color with very prominent gold colored flecks. It is certainly very, very shimmery. And this is Downpour from Dominant Industry. I have never heard of this ink brand before, but I bought the sample vial because I like the name of this ink. The color matches the name of the ink so well, and it's supposed to have a pearl finish. At least that is what I'm assuming because it's from the line called the Pearl Edition. This is Doña Victorina from Troublemaker. This ink is intriguing to me because of the name. Doña Victorina is one of the characters in the novel Noli Me Tangere, written by Dr. Jose P. Rizal. And in the book, she is a Filipina who wants to be known as Spanish, even though she's not. So she puts on makeup to make herself look whiter, have a whiter skin, have a taller nose, bigger eyes, things like that. Very interesting. And just like the pillars of creation from Colorverse that we swatched earlier, this is also a sheening ink. You can see two different colors depending on the level of wetness of the ink that you lay on the paper. Next is another ink from Dominant Industry called Autumn Forest. This is another ink that's supposed to have a pearl finish. I'm assuming that because this is from a line called the Pearl Edition. And finally, this is the Peacock Flare from Diamine. This is a shimmer ink. This is a very nice teal color. I think this is teal, and the shimmer is silver. And finally, we have finished swatching all of the 7 inks that we have most recently arrived. Now let us look at all of the dry swatches and make some comparisons. The Sunlit Jade and the Moonlit Jade look very similar to the Diamine Kelly Green, but the Kelly Green looks brighter and more saturated, at least when it comes to the base ink color. Of course, the Jades are shimmer inks. The Doña Victorina's base color, which is purple, is very similar to the Diamine Majestic Purple. But the green of Doña Victorina, the sheening color, is very similar to the sheening color of the Pillars of Creation. The Peacock Flare is not the same color as the Cool Green. The Peacock Flare is darker and more bluish, and the Cool Green is more green and also much brighter. These two inks from Dominant Industry, that's from the Pearl Edition line, are not really calling out to me. The Downpour has no pearl finish at all from what I can see. And even in the video, I cannot see any pearl finish, but the Autumn Forest has a pearl finish that you can clearly see. The Downpour is a cooler and lighter gray compared with the Diamine Earl Grey, which is a warm, medium gray color. But the path is not the same color as Autumn Forest. The Autumn Forest has more gray in it. Now, out of curiosity, I decided to swatch this Rohrer and Klinger Alt Goldgrun ink that I've had for many years. I have decanted some of it into a sample vial, although I also have the original bottle still, because I wanted to compare it with the Path. When dry, I could see that they are not the same. Alt Goldgrun is definitely more green, but the Path is more yellow, and together with the gold shimmer, it really has that golden effect. It's like the Path is the more glamorous and glitzy sibling or cousin of the Alt Goldgrun. And once I bring in Autumn Forest, we can see that they are similar in color, all three of them, but not the same. Autumn Forest is slightly warmer, and of course it has that pinkish pearl-like or pearlized shine. So these are the 7 new inks that have arrived, and from these I picked Path to load into my olive green Jinhao 82, and this is where I encountered a problem. Because after I loaded the ink into the pen would not write. I tapped the side of the pen to drop the ink down towards the converter so that the air will be at the top of the converter, and then so I could push the ink up towards the nib to expel even more air, but it really still would not write. I even dipped the nib of the pen into the ink to try writing with it, like I did when I tried out an ink with a Lanbitou, which you saw me do earlier, but this pen really would not write. So I dumped out the ink, washed the pen, wiped it dry, and loaded the pen again, but still the pen will not write. So I emptied the pen and rinsed it out. And I also went ahead and swatched this ink that I bought a couple of weeks ago from my very first order from the ink shop. It is a very nice blue-green color, but it has a tiny clump right there that you can see. This is a shimmer ink, so maybe that's some shimmer that had clumped up. Maybe the vial just needed more vigorous shaking. This ink is called Copper Patina. I decided to try one more time with this olive green Jinhao 82 pen because I was thinking maybe it's the ink that was problematic, so I decided to ink it with the autumn forest. I even made it a point to first take in a tiny amount of ink into the converter and the feed, and then expend that onto a piece of tissue to make sure whatever water or air that's in the feed after washing will be removed, and then replaced with ink. And then I proceeded to load the pen completely, the usual way, but the same problem happened, so I concluded that the pen is definitely the problem. And then, of course, I rinsed the pen under running water. But I really wanted to load path into a pen, so I decided to use this black Jinhao 82 instead. And I first dipped the tip of the nib into the ink, and as you can see, it already worked like a dream. And after I inked the pen completely, I had no problems writing with it. And this ink is so beautiful. It is gold. It is golden and it is so pretty. When I was putting the swatches back into the book, I noticed that some of the ink might be staining inks. So I decided to take some pieces of onion skin paper from my life notebook, cut them down to size, and then place them into my ink swatch book in front of the pages with the staining inks or the potentially staining inks to prevent the ink from staining the back of the page in front of it. This is one way to keep the pages pristine. There is nothing on the back of each page, so it doesn't really matter, but I still want to keep the pages as clean and as new as possible because I plan to use this swatch book for a very long time. And I have been adding new pages into this swatch book actually as I find more ink samples that I want to try swatching even though I haven't placed the order yet. So the discs have started to become a little bit too small, so I decided to switch to bigger discs. These are metal expander discs from the Happy Planner, and these are 1.75 inches in diameter or about 44.5 millimeters, much bigger compared with the 38 millimeter plastic discs that I already have on the swatch book. And using metal discs will actually make the pages easier to turn. In my experience with a disc-bound system for more than a year now, or almost 2 years now, the pages really are easier to turn on metal discs. And as I was transferring the pages to the new discs, I also noticed that the walnut was staining the back of the page in front of it, so I also placed a sheet of onion skin paper over the page for walnut. So now I have bigger discs on the swatch book, and I have not even swatched all of the inks that I already own. And that is my ink swatching fun video for today. As I go along making the ink swatches, I will make more comparisons. And if you have an ink that you want me to swatch and compare, please let me know in the comments and I will try my best to get my hands on a sample so I can swatch them for you on video and give you a close look at the comparison. So if you're interested to see that, please make sure that you're subscribed to my channel and that you have clicked on the notification bell so that you will get an alert as soon as those videos are up. Thanks for watching. Bye.